各位记者朋友，大家下午好！欢迎大家参加商务部例行新闻发布会。今天我首先有3条信息需要主动向大家进行通报。第一条是关于2019年1到4月份全国吸收外资的情况。2019年1到4月，全国吸收外资的主要特点有以下几个方面。一是实际使用外资持续。
The actual use of foreign investment continued to increase steadily. From January to April, we have newly established 13,000 plus enterprises. We have used about 33.41 billion yuan, up 6.4%. In US dollars, we have 45 more billion US dollar, up 3.5%. For April, we have utilized 62 billion US dollar, up 6.3%. And in US dollar terms, it is 9.34 billion US dollar, up 2.8%. And second, for high-tech manufacturing and service sector has maintained a rapid growth. For manufacturing, it has used foreign investment in the amount of 94.38 billion RMB, up 11.4%. For service sector, it has utilized 205.1 billion yuan, up 4.1%. High-tech industry actually use more investment by 43.1%, accounting for 28.1%. High-tech manufacturing actually utilized 33.41 billion yuan, up 12.3%, among which electronic and communication equipment manufacturing, computer and office facility has utilized foreign investment, which increased by 38.7% and 45.8% respectively. High-tech service sector actually use foreign investment in the amount of 52.48 billion RMB, up 73.4%. Information services, R&D and design, technology result transfer has increased by 57.4%, 49.1%, and 96.3% respectively. And third, Central and Western area and Free Trade Pilot Zone has maintained steady growth in using foreign investment. Central actual area has utilized 22.07 billion yuan in foreign investment, up 4.5%. Western area actually used 21.16 billion yuan of foreign investment, up 9.6% year-on-year. Free Trade Pilot Zone has utilized more foreign investment, increasing by 11.8%, accounting for 11.9%. And the investment from major sources has maintained a rapid growth. Hong Kong area, South Korea, Japan, U.S., Germany, their foreign investment in China has increased by 3.9%, 114.1%, 3%, 24.3%, and 101.1% respectively. EU investment actually increased by 17.7%. The second information I want to release is for the first 2 months, China's outward investment cooperation. From January to April 2019, China's domestic investors has invested directly in 2,608 foreign enterprises in 148 countries and regions. These investments are non-financial in the amount of 233.41 billion yuan. In US dollar terms, 34.64 billion US dollar, up 3.3%. For the first 4 months, outsourcing and contracting projects has been in the amount of 302.89 billion yuan, up 6.4%. Newly signed contracts, 449.11 billion yuan, up 15.2%. Outward labor cooperation, we have sent 153,000 personnel, up by 25,000. By the end of April, about 977,000 people working in foreign countries, downward by 5,000. For the first 4 months, we have maintained a stable and steady growth with the following features. First, we have made progress in the investment in the Belt and Road countries. For the first 4 months, China's enterprises has invested more in the 50 countries along the Belt and Road routes, totaling $4.61 billion, accounting for 13.3% of the period total. For the newly signed outsourcing contracts, we have achieved $40.43 billion, accounting for 60.7% over the same period, up 40.2%. For the sales volume, about $25.15 billion, up 3.9%, and foreign investment structure has been enhanced. For the first 4 months, China's investment in Asia, Europe, North America, and Africa has increased by 9.5%, 8.1%, 8.3%, and 40.2%. And the direct investment in the Central and Eastern European countries has increased year-on-year by 88.8%. China's ODI focus on leasing and business services, manufacturing sector, information transmission software and IT services, wholesale and retailing, as well as construction. The figure has been 25.8%, 19.7%, 11.6%, 8.6%, and 7.9%. And the investment in information transmission software and IT services, construction and manufacturing has increased by 74.3%, 44.7%, and 18% respectively. There are no new projects in real estate, physics, and entertainment sector in terms of the foreign investment. And third, we have big projects in the outsourcing, which have led to the economic social development of local countries with mutual benefits. For the first 4 months, with the volume higher than $500 billion, $50 million, we have 243 of such projects, up by 29 projects, accounting for 83% of the newly signed contracts. The investment has been focusing on electric engineering, transportation, as well as general construction, accounting for 70%, and it contributes to the livelihood and infrastructure in host countries. For the first 4 months, we have newly established an M&A in the amount of 1,573. The contracted investment reached about $30.96 billion. The newly established and M&A non-financial investments have reached about 1,568 enterprises. The contracted volume reached $30.42 billion. The financial investments have been made in 5 enterprises. The contracted volume, $540 million. We have 4 enterprises with more China's investment. The contracted volume, $430 million. And the third information is about the consumption operation for the first 4 months. According to National Statistics Bureau, the total retail sales of consumer goods has reached 3.1 trillion yuan, up 7.2%. The 5,000 key enterprises in April have achieved 324 billion yuan in terms of sales, up 2.2%. For April, we have maintained stable operation in the consumption market with the following features. First, online sales has been accelerating. The online sales of physical goods, for the first 4 months has reached 2.4 trillion RMB, up 22.2%, 1.2 percentage points faster than the first 3 months, accounting for 18.6% in the total retail sales of consumer goods, faster by 2.2 percentage points over the same period of last year. Second, we have stable service sector. The catering industry has revenue of 328.1 billion yuan, up 8.5% year-on-year, according to China's Tourism Academy. During the Qingming Festival, we have the tourist revenue in the amount of 47.89 billion yuan, up 13.7% year-on-year, according to related data. China's box revenue for movie sector has increased year-on-year by 20.2%. And third, daily consumption has been booming. In April, for the daily appliances, Chinese and foreign medical services, beverages, and grain and oil goods has increased by 12.6%, 11.5%, 9.7%, and 9.3%. And fourth, the price rise has been mild. The consumer price has maintained stability with an increase of 2.5% year-on-year in April. For the first 4 months, the accumulative increase has been 2%. With seasonal factors and short-term fluctuation, pork, vegetable, and fruit price has a certain rise, lifting the price for edible agricultural goods. In April, for 36 megacities and medium-sized cities, the edible agricultural price has increased by 8% year-on-year. In April, the total retail sales of consumer goods has reached 3.1 trillion yuan, up 7.2% year-on-year. The growth has been slower than the previous month by 1.5 percentage points. According to the factor of holidays, last year in April we have 10 days of holiday, and this year the holidays are 8 days. We have 2 days less. This has been a huge influence on the consumption. Specifically, we have the influence in the oil sector, home appliances, and furniture. So all these are what I want to release to you. And now the floor is open for questions. Now please ask your questions.
We're from Reuters. We have 3 questions. My colleague will translate to Chinese. The U.S. has threatened to tariff another $300 billion in Chinese goods, but China does not import enough goods from the United States to match that amount in terms of tariffs. What other actions will China take to protect its interests? Second question is, U.S. President Trump has said he plans to meet President Xi next month. Will there be further negotiations between the U.S. and the Chinese trade negotiators in the coming weeks? The last question is, the U.S. is moving to ban Huawei from acquiring components and technology from the U.S. companies without prior.
From Reuters, the first question is that the U.S. is threatening additional tariff on $300 billion worth of China's imports, but China does not have enough quantity or volume to match this scale. What is China's measure to counter? And second, President Trump said that he is planning to meet President Xi Jinping for the next month. So before that, will there be any further negotiation from 2 parties? And third, we focus on Huawei. The U.S. is taking measures to ban Huawei from buying parts and technologies from U.S. companies. What is China's response? Thank you for your question. For your first question, we noticed that on the 13th of May, USTR office has released an announcement announcing to impose additional tariff on $300 billion of China's imports. It is starting this process. With this extreme pressure and with this bully, it is against the multilateral trading principles. China is staunchly opposite to this practice. If the U.S. sticks to its way, China is forced to respond. China has always held the opinion that continuous imposition of additional tariff is not in the interest of solving trade issues. China has never been afraid of any pressure, and we have the confidence, resolution, and capacity to tackle any risk and challenge. And for the second question, China does not know the U.S. plan for their negotiation in China. During the 11th round of high-level consultation, both parties had candid and constructive communication. But to our regret, the U.S. unilaterally escalated the trade dispute, which has severely damaged the China-U.S. trade consultation. And for your third question, if I understand it correctly, it is about the two measures from the U.S. side. Is it correct? The first measure is the U.S. on this Wednesday has signed an administrative order to ban U.S. enterprises to use the electronic equipments manufactured by enterprises which are a threat to the national security. China has always emphasized that we should not abuse national security or use it as a tool for trade protectionism. We hope that related countries can respect market principles and offer a fair, transparent, and predictable business environment to Chinese enterprises and enterprises of all other countries. And for the U.S. to include Huawei and its 70 affiliates into the list for export control. We noticed that on the 15th of May, the Department of Commerce of the U.S. has used national security as a reason to incorporate Huawei and its 70 affiliates into the list of export control. We also noticed that on the 13th of May, the U.S. has also included certain Chinese entities into the list of export control. China has always required that Chinese enterprises carefully abide by related regulations and laws concerning the export control, and we require the enterprises to uphold international obligations and to abide by the laws, policies, and regulations of host countries. We require the enterprises to operate according to the laws and regulations. We oppose any country to take unilateral penalty on China's enterprises. We oppose the abuse of national security and the abuse of export control measures. We urge the U.S. to stop such practices, thus offering a condition for normal cooperation in trade between both countries and enterprises in both countries. We hope that further impacts on the bilateral trading relationship will be avoided. We will take all necessary measures to safeguard the lawful rights of China's enterprises. Thank you. From Phoenix. Also on China-U.S. trade, the U.S. has announced additional tariff. But some people pointed out there are 20 days of delay between the announcement and the actual imposition. Does China expect any turn in the period, and what is your comment? We noticed that the USTR office and the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Bureau have announced the additional tariff, and for the goods which leave China after 0 o'clock 10th of May and arrive in the U.S. before 24 o'clock the 1st of June, these goods will be exempted from additional tariff. But this does not change the additional tariff on the new products. We have always opposed to unilateral tariff, and the additional imposition of tariff would only add to the difficulties of the consultation. We urge the U.S. to remedy on the mistakes as soon as possible to avoid even larger damage on the enterprises and consumers of both countries, to avoid the influence of recessional nature on the world economy. Thank you. From CNR, we also noticed that after the 11th round of consultation, China has focused on 3 core concerns: the additional imposition of tariff, the balance of trade, and are these issues the major points of negotiation and major difficulties? Thank you for your question. To reach any agreement, China has 3 core concerns, and these 3 concerns need to be tackled appropriately. First, the removal of all the additional tariff. Tariff is the starting point of this dispute. To reach any agreement, additional tariff need to be removed comprehensively. And second, the trade purchasing data need to be in line with actual conditions. Both parties have met in Argentina and reached an agreement on this. We should not change it at will. And third, the balance of the documents and drafts. Any country has its dignity. The agreement draft need to be balanced and acceptable. In major issues of principle, we will never yield. From Hong Kong Business Report, you have also mentioned that for the U.S. unilateral measures, it has damaged and hampered the current consultation. What are China's measures to maintain contact and consultation with the U.S.? And for the consultation, Vice Premier Liu He is reported to leave the banquet for a short period of time. And it is also said that maybe future consultation shall be between 2 heads of states. Are there any plans concerning this? Thank you for your question. For your first question, the U.S. bully and the extreme pressure have led to major setbacks in the China-U.S. trade consultation. Additional tariff cannot solve any problem. China resolutely opposes these practices, and we are forced to take countermeasures. And for the second question, during the 11th round of high-level consultation, you mentioned certain reports. These reports are not in line with the facts. And for other issues, please refer to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Thank you. From Shenzhen TV, the U.S. has announced that additional tariff will increase from 10% to 25% since the 10th of May. China has announced countermeasures. Starting from the 1st of June, China will increase the tariff. So why the 1st of June? Is it to have a buffering period? And we have also noticed that the tariff rate has not been all 25% for all the $60 billion of import. We have different categories of 25%, 20%, and 10%. What is China's consideration behind this? I want to emphasize that China is not willing to see a trade war, but we are not afraid. For the U.S. imposition of additional tariff, China is forced to take necessary countermeasures. Thank you. Thank you. From Economic Daily, recently, the State Council Conference has a guidance concerning the national level economic opening up zone. We will build a pilot project and the example for reform and opening up. What is the current layout and what is future step? And for the national level economic and opening up zone, so far we have 219 national level economic development zone in 31 provinces, regions, and municipalities. In Eastern area, 107, Central area, 63, Western area, 49. For the past 30 years, the national level economic development zone have focused on advanced manufacturing as well as the production-oriented services. It focuses on innovation in institutional arrangement. We focus on internationalization as well as industrialization to promote urbanization. These zones have become a leading player in China's reform and opening up as well as economic development. They play important roles in China's economic social development. For the 219 zones, we have 10.2 trillion yuan of production, up 13.9%, accounting for 11.3% of the national total. Fiscal revenue 1.9 trillion yuan, up 7.7% year-on-year, accounting for 10.6% of the national total. We have the import and export in the amount of 6.2 trillion yuan, up 10.8% year-on-year, accounting for 20.3%. Actual use of foreign investment and foreign invested enterprises have reached $51.3 billion, up 5.5%, accounting for 20.4% of the national total use of foreign investment. For the next step, MOFCOM will adhere to the new concept of development. We will optimize the business environment. We will facilitate innovation and development. We will further open up and contribute to the upgrading of the industry. We will continue to further open up these development zones in terms of innovation for the institutional arrangements as well as technology, so that we can have higher level of economic development and we can improve the quality of such zones. So such zones can be a new highland of reform and opening up. Thank you. From China News Services, we noticed that a lot of research institutes have studied the damage on the economy due to the trade war. So for the existing tariffs, what are the damages? Does China have any estimates? For the escalation, what are the measures for China to hedge the influence? And in the latest counter list, we have certain goods in terms of daily use. Will this result in a price rise in the domestic market? The escalation of trade dispute will have the impact on China, U.S., and world economy. In terms of China's economy, the influence is totally within control. For the second half of last year, we have adopted measures to stabilize employment, finance, foreign trade, foreign investment, total investment, and market expectation. All these measures have substantial results. We will further implement these above-mentioned measures to solve the difficulties faced by enterprises. Currently, domestic consumer goods have stable price, we will closely monitor the price changes and will take necessary measures in a timely manner. Thank you. Xinhua News Agency. We noticed that the U.S. Soybean Associations and U.S.-China Trade Association have called for the stop of escalation of the tariff, and it has also been warned that the additional tariff will result in very bad influence for the domestic manufacturing, and the job loss will be in the amount of 400,000. What is China's comment? We noticed that within the U.S., from the industrial sector, we heed the call for the stop of additional tariff. More and more people are feeling the result of the additional tariff. The U.S. enterprises, consumers, are all the victims. And this also shows that trade war has no winners. Trade war will damage the U.S., China, and the world's interest. Thank you. Thank you. From CCTV. It has been the concern of the press that the U.S. enterprises operating in China will be the target of China's countermeasures. What is your comment? Over the past few decades, China has always been the favored market of foreign investment across the globe. The legal rights of all the enterprises operating in China will be protected by the Chinese government. We will continue to take effective measures to create a more stable, fairer, and more transparent, more predictable business environment for all the enterprises from all the countries.
Bloomberg News. I'll ask you in English, my colleague will translate. You said before that, to the Reuters question, that China will be forced to respond and retaliate to the U.S.'s new tariff threats if they follow through with those. Can you give us any details or explanation of what measures specifically China will take? And the second question is, if the U.S. does, the U.S. is restricting Huawei's access to American technology, does China intend to respond to that measure as well? Will you take that to the WTO, or are there other domestic measures which you will take in response to the U.S. decision on Huawei?
The question is a follow-up on your answer to Reuters' question. If additional tariff is going to be imposed, China is forced to take countermeasures. What are the specific measures? The second question about Huawei. Will China take the U.S. restrictions on Huawei to WTO? What are the expected measures? Thank you for your question. I have already answered some of the questions. If the U.S. sticks to its way, China will be forced to take necessary countermeasures. I want to emphasize once again that additional tariffs offers no benefits to solve the trade issues. China has never been afraid of any pressure. We have the confidence, resolution, and capacity to safeguard China's core interests and to tackle any risks and challenges. And for the second question you have mentioned, I have mentioned China's stance on this issue. We will take all necessary measures to safeguard the legal rights of Chinese enterprises. Thank you. From Beijing TV. My question is about consumption. For the first online sales festival, what are the results and what are the experiences? Thank you. To accelerate the upgrading of consumption and to nurture a strong domestic market, from 28th of April to the 10th of May, MOFCOM and the National Postal Services, National Consumer Association, we coordinate 10 e-commerce platforms and delivery services for an online sales festival. We have more than 100,000 brands participating in the festival. Sales volume 77 billion yuan, lifting the online sales of physical goods by 285 billion yuan, up 28%. Brand goods have an overall favorable rating of more than 97.3%. During the festival, we have 2.012 billion deliveries, up 28.04%. For the first such festival, it has two highlights. First, domestic brands have an outstanding performance. Domestic brands have total sales accounting for nearly 70%. Home appliances, daily use consumption, green and oil food have the top 3 sales of domestic brands. The time-honored brands have a high performance. The sales volume for certain time-honored brands have even exceeded dozens of millions of RMB. Second, we have the smart, health-related and green goods to be the favored choice. The smart products accounted for 18.5%. Health-related products have accounted to 3.2 billion yuan. Green product, 800 million yuan in sales. We have more than 95% of the e-orders, and we will have accelerated use of renewable circuit and renewable process. We have certain experiences. First, we can innovate in the business model to stimulate consumption. Multiple e-commerce platforms have the operation where we have word-of-mouth marketing as well as the joint purchase. We have expanded the influence of certain brand among the young people. Second, we can facilitate enterprises and the consumption. E-commerce platforms have more sharing and communication with consumers, and the experience has been enhanced. Based on understanding the experience of users, certain enterprises have improved certain products. And during the festival, the 50 items have the sales volume of 10 times than the average. And third, we focus on quality control and the protection of consumer rights. With this festival, e-commerce platforms introduce third-party examination institution, and the food chain tracing system has been established. And we have the on-the-spot inspection as well as random inspection. We further improve upon the quality control of products. With more confidence in the quality, more e-commerce platforms have initiated the offer of extending refund period. Fourth, we have the safeguard in terms of postal services. We have 3 million personnel and 275,000 outlets, and 320 vehicles have been in operation, and the delivery rate has been more than 90%. The complaint of postal services has reduced by 11%. The postal services and express delivery has been more rapid and of higher quality. Thank you. Thank you. From economic news, we noticed that China is formally submitting its proposal concerning WTO reform to the World Trade Organization. What is the background of such submission and what is China's stance? Thank you for your question. Currently, unilateralism and trade protectionism is on the rise. The authority of multilateral trading system and effectiveness of such system is under severe challenge. At the same time, WTO also experienced a not so rapid negotiation, and we have an urgent need of improving the efficiency of the organization. Against such a backdrop, China supports the necessary reforms of WTO. We are willing to cooperate with all the members to tackle the existing crisis of the WTO so that we can rise up to the needs of the time's development and safeguard the multilateral trading system. For last November, China has released its position paper on WTO reform. On the 13th of May, we formally submitted our proposal document on WTO reform. We mention 4 areas of action. First, we should tackle key and pressing issues threatening the existence of WTO. Second, we should enhance the relevance of WTO in world economic governance. Third, improve the efficiency of WTO operation. Fourth, increase the inclusiveness of multilateral trading system. China is willing to exchange our views with WTO members so that we can jointly promote the reform of WTO. We can restore authority and effectiveness to WTO so that WTO can play a larger role in the world economic governance. Thank you. Thank you. Shanghai Securities report. In addition to trade, is China feeling any mounting pressure for any other area? Can China tackle the pressure from the perspective of tariff and other areas? What is the current pressure and the long-term influence of the trade war? Thank you for your question. I want to emphasize once again that China is staunchly opposed to the additional tariff. And this is bad for China. It is bad for the U.S. and the world. Trade war has no winners. China's macro policy has sufficient maneuver space. We have sufficient toolkit. We are confident and capable to tackle any difficulties and challenges. China's economy has comprehensive and sophisticated industrial framework. We have strong resilience and large market. We have a large space of leeway, and we have a bright future. Thank you. Thank you. The International Business Report. The Vice President of Brazil is expected to visit China shortly and will co-chair the 5th meeting of China-Brazil High-Level Commission. And what is the actual organizational process and what are the expected results? Thank you for your question. China-Brazil High-Level Consultation and Cooperation Commission will be holding its 5th conference on the 23rd of May. The Chinese chair, China's Vice Chairman Wang Qishan, will co-chair the meeting with the Brazilian chairman, the Vice President of Brazil. And at the time, both countries will review the report of subcommissions and will exchange views on the key points of cooperation. This commission is the highest level intergovernmental exchange and cooperation mechanism. Its task is to coordinate the practical cooperation in various aspects. In May 2004, it was established, and since then, we have 4 rounds of meetings. Currently, under such a commission, we have 12 sub-commissions focusing on politics, economics and trade, finance, technology, agriculture, energy, mining, aviation, industrialization, informatization, culture, healthcare, education, and other aspects. With the joint effort of China and Brazil, the meeting's organization is smoothly underway. We have strong complementarity in terms of both countries' economy, and we have a bright prospect of economic trade cooperation. With the joint effort of both countries, we have achieved long-term achievement for the economic cooperation. In 2018, the bilateral trade has surpassed $100 billion, and we have expanded cooperation in various aspects. Against such a backdrop, Vice President of Brazil is visiting China and co-chairing this conference. This will be the first important high-level interaction since the new government of Brazil took office. It will contribute to the further in-depth cooperation between both countries. Thank you. Thank you from CNBC. May I ask, Trump has announced that he will meet with President Xi Jinping during the next G20 summit. Can you confirm that? And the U.S. Treasury Secretary, will he be visiting China? What is the specific timing and the content of possible negotiation? Thank you for your question. For the first question, please refer to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. For the second one, China does not know the U.S. plan to negotiate. During the 11th high round of consultation, I have already mentioned that we had candid and constructive exchange of views, but to our regret, the U.S. unilaterally escalate the trade frictions, and this has caused severe setback in China-U.S. trade consultations. Thank you. If with no further questions, this is the end of today's conference. Thank you.
如果没有问题，今天的发布会到此结束，谢谢大家。